one thing I want us to do is I want us to acknowledge that everything in our life is a choice. And that starts with ownership. Instead of making excuses, we're going to take ownership for our decision. So all these qualities, these fear, anxiety, being stressed out, being worn too thin, I want us, this next part's a little tough. It's some tough love. We need to realize that's our decisions that got us there, not somebody else. When we make excuses and we point to someone else as the reason and cause for our problems or our struggles, we're putting the power for our potential and our happiness in someone else's hands when it belongs in ours. It starts with you. It starts with the choices you're making and the decisions you're making. So the bad news is the problem with you is you. The problem with me is me. But the great news is the solution is you. When you start to realize that you are in control of your happiness, you're in control of the choices that you make and the things that you do, you start to explore solutions instead of problems. You start saying why something can happen instead of always saying why it can't happen. You begin to feel empowered to make these decisions that are going to affect your happiness, your contentment, and your ability to serve and help and love others well, which is what most of us at our core want to be doing. So, once we take ownership of our life and we realize, okay, any of our problems, our choices got us there, then we can make the choices to get us out of that space. We can make the choices to get to our goals, like you all talked about earlier, to get to a place of happiness. So let's talk about happiness, for example, okay? A lot of times people, and this is really common for anyone, think that happiness is something that just happens to you. It just falls in your lap. Or maybe they think that it's a result of a certain situation. Things are going well. My job is going well. My kids are healthy. Therefore, I can be happy. How many of you in this room have seen people that seem to have it all together and they're not happy at all? And have you ever seen someone that it seems like their life has nothing and they have this deep joy that can't be explained? I went to the Dominican Republic this last summer and I served on a mission trip for a week. And I was absolutely blown away at the joy that these people have. They live in mud huts. They don't know where their next meal is going to come from. And they were happier than any American I've ever seen. And it had nothing to do with their circumstances. They weren't happy because they got a raise or unhappy because they didn't. They weren't happy because their job was going really well or unhappy because it wasn't. Their happiness was completely separated from their circumstances. And I think that's really difficult for us because we live in this culture of entitlement, this culture of the next best thing, this culture of if your phone breaks, it's not just an inconvenience. You deserve a phone that works. You deserve an iPhone that takes pictures and Skypes and cooks breakfast for you. And if you don't have it, my God, the world is coming to an end. But it's a habit, isn't it? We're surrounded by it. It's in Hollywood. It's in the media. It's never enough. I'm going to do a workshop later on budgeting, and we're going to talk about money, but don't even get me started on the marketing because you're worth it. Because you're worth it. You should spend money you don't have because you're worth it. It's always something, right? Isn't it? It's always that next best thing. And so if we can start to realize that our happiness is a choice and a decision, then you literally can choose to be happy whenever you want to. You can choose to be happy in really terrible circumstances. Now, that's not to say you won't experience pain, but it's a choice in how you perceive this.